Right. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you back on the podcast today. How you doing?
Hey, we're always honored to be on your podcast,
Thanks.
Adam. I think by weight, I think I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Like you said, we always do want to get over there and have the three of us inside of that car trying to record one of these. I'm not sure.
I believe
they call that. I believe they call that a soup kitchen, Greg. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah,
but
they do. I'll be in the boot, just so you know. I've already been rehearsing the lingo. Brian.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what else are you gonna come out with? That was right off the bat. You're gonna try and use some colloquial British terms. All right,
exactly.
Here we go.
Exactly.
Here we go.
No, we have to do it sometime.
Yeah, I know it's your show, but we're going to ask you, why do you keep going through this horror of having us on your show? Is this something, like, are you a masochist? What, do you like the pain? Because it's got to be hard wrangling Brian and I on the show, no?
No, I just really love what you guys are about, and I just feel like deep down that we can really connect and we kind of touch into conversations very naturally, and I admire the work that you guys do, and I'm blessed and grateful to be your guys' friend, and for you guys to continue to support me and likewise, and I always look forward to it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the support, man. You're always posting our stuff and sharing and all that stuff. And we do appreciate that so much. Like it's good to have, people out there doing that. And I'm glad that we kind of connected this way. These are always the good stories of LinkedIn and social media and how interconnected our world is like, it's easy to focus in on the bad parts or people spreading crap or talking crap. But like, if you think about it, because I even like the one thing I always like, I kind of make fun of LinkedIn a lot, but I've actually made some good connections on there for work using what it was designed for. I have. So even as much as I call it, as I call it the worst of all the social media platforms, like it's actually good. So it's good to recognize that. So I appreciate you for doing that. It's like, we connected over here. We've never met before in person. And had these great conversations, and we've had some of your guests come on our show, and some of our guests have now come on your show. And like, it's a really cool way, because that creates more people doing that, more people listening to you, more people listening to us, and then now more people thinking that way and acting that way. And that's the positive change. So we get to kind of live that. So it's really cool connecting with someone all the way across the pond. There's my first one, Greg. So
there you go. We're keeping track, by the way. And Adam, look, we're all in this at the same time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that if you take a look at people scratching their bean, when they're scratching their head, there's a number of different things. One, you're a meth head, or two, you haven't washed your scalp and you've got scabies, or three, you're just like all three of us, where you're still trying to figure it out, right? And the idea behind the good podcast, the podcast I deem as good, like my opinion matters, are the ones where people are trying to figure out like you are, and you see them walking through life with the big boxing gloves on, and they share their story. The people that deal in nothing but platitudes, hey, here's the 5 points to the winning hairstyle, kiss my ass. That's all crap. There's nothing there. There's no tangible thing. You're not holding something at the end of the day. So we were talking Kevin's podcast that we just did, and hopefully people will reach out to that. Kevin's one of those guys that we like to have on the show, like you or some other the guests, where they come and they go, hey, here's the plan I used, and here's 3 takeaways you can do today. That's cool stuff, because then I feel that I'm in somewhat control of my own destiny.
Yeah.
Because doesn't it suck when you feel like you're in your car, if you just close your eyes and hit the accelerator and said, woohoo, let's see what's next. Well, it's going to be an interesting life. You're going to have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But I mean,
or
is
none.
that really where you want to be, or none at all, or one big one? But
or someone else is going to be telling the story. Yeah.
Exactly. But I there's so much to I'll do my second one, Brian, shite. There's so much shite that's out there that I don't want to bash anybody else, because that's your way of getting through. But man, if I'm at the end of an hour and 15-minute podcast and I don't have a couple of items written down on a yellow pad that I can immediately put into service, I feel cheated. I really do, because time is such a valuable thing. I mean, we all work, we all have real jobs, you know what I'm saying? And so the podcast is sort of our release, right? And so you go on there and people go, okay, so why are you on there? Is it just, to self-gratification, partially Tubin, but the other part of it is that I want to actually interact with other people so I can be a better human. I mean, I think that's our goal, Brian. I mean, I don't know if the show has a subtitle, but Left to Greg is kind of about that, right?
Yeah, my whole thing is I'd like to one day know what it's like to feel human emotion, and so I think we're slowly
like a real boy,
getting there. Exactly. Like a real person.
Yeah, he's trying so hard too, Adam. He's done some great things. Like he's put a guitar back there to make people think that he actually has musical talent. Yeah. He's put artwork back there to make sure. And the chair, the brown chair you see, Adam, that's his timeout chair. His wife puts him in that timeout chair probably 3 or 4 times a day.
At least.
But you earn it. But you earn it.
I did. I deserved it. So.
My mom, absolutely true story, and everybody that knows me will remember this. I could show you the scars. My mom had a conch shell, the piggy from Lord of the Flies. So at the top of this landing that goes down to our basement, goes into our kitchen or to our family room in a big old house in Detroit, big old, built hand built by my dad from Tennessee, and my mom and dad fought all the time. So I would hide in the basement to get away from the fights. One of those. I was the special child, the empath, and so when I would come up, I had enough. I would start yelling too. You abused the way you were abused. I got about to the top shell, and my mom took that conch shell and went kabong and hit me right between the the suture joints, and I woke up at Saratoga General Hospital, good old fashioned domestic violence, and the guy there knew me because I had all the scar tissue on my head from my dad. And when asked by the police why she used the conch shell, my mom said, I used a wooden spoon, the wooden spoon and fork that are the wall decorations in the old houses. She said, I used that on him and it didn't work. So it was a great thing that increase the level of violence, increases the purity of this signal. So the reason I'm saying that is I had no way to act out. And when I wanted to learn something, I was kind of stifled by the two most violent humans in my world. I learned a lot from that. Don't get me wrong, but the conch shell. So anytime I think of that moment of pure clarity, I would have it, but this part of my brain is still damaged, I think.
I think like with what you said, like I do agree, and I think like I was talking earlier about like psychology, and I kind of link it to like what you're saying. Like people go through some things, and like they might be a victim of something. Like they might say, "Oh, well, this happened to me in my childhood, and this is the way I am." Like you experience those things as as a, I don't know, like kid or whatever, and you're doing something where you're okay, and I think like you've done a lot of things in your life.
I'm not okay, but I'm doing something. Yeah,
you're doing some. Yeah, so. I think it's people very, very interesting. And we was talking earlier, like in the role that I'm doing, you meet so many different people from all these different paths, and you get people who are going through different things, and you get people who sometimes are going through worse things than the other people, and yet they're the ones who actually want to get somewhere. And it's really fascinating. And like you said, we're all figuring it out, but it really makes you think about people.
Yeah, and you brought up your examples from work, which you're gonna like. I mean, talk about a crash course in human behavior with what you're doing with that stuff is going to be incredible, because you're gonna have some great stories. And people search for a lot of meaning, and they want to point to something and figure out, why do I think this way, or why is this, or what is that? And psychology is a big part of that. But this is why you bring it up when we just had Kevin Nahai on the other week, is just so much is about choices, right? I mean, you can't change what, the family you were born into. You can't change the fact that like I'm never going to be able to dunk a basketball. I just stopped trying a few years ago, actually. I got to the point where I could touch the rim with my hand, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm getting so close. And then realized well, you have to get it so much higher than that. And first you have to be able to palm a basketball too, which I can't do that. So I'm not going to ever be able to do that. But the point is, it's about the choices we make. So you can't deal with the situation necessarily, the hand you're dealt, but you can figure out the best hand to play with what you're dealt, right? And I think if people focused on that versus the situation they're in, it becomes a little bit more clear on what you can do. Like, there may be some things you don't understand. Hey, why does this certain thing make me feel this way? Or, why do I think that? And you can go into that, all that, but if you just focus on the choices that you make and making good choices, I mean, that's where you're gonna make the money. That's where you're gonna make the friendship. That's where you're gonna have a better life. And I mean, even Greg's story from a kid, that could have sent him one direction, but then he chose like, oh, hey, this is this is my family, this is who we are. I'm not going to let that affect the way I view other things in my life. And that's a choice. You know what I mean? So that if you focus on what you choose, I think that makes things a little bit more clear and easier to understand. And like Greg talked about when we first started talking about control, like we need to feel as human beings that we have some control over our life. So one of the ways you can control your thoughts and habits and actions are your choices. So
that's exactly right. And Adam, I would add this. Brian is so laser focused and insightful when it comes to that. I say that embrace your bad choices too. Listen, I've got a lot of scar tissue. I made a lot of mistakes. I wouldn't be who I am. And, people say that all the time. Sometimes you laugh about things and you're flippant and you make these jokes. Yeah, it's my coping mechanism. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I mean, like everybody on this call, I endured different abuses during my life. Some were catastrophic. Some were life altering. And I either could have taken a knee and said, that's it, and been Job from the Bible. Why me, Lord? Or I stand back up and I go, okay, I'm going back in. And now I might not go back in through the conch shell door. I may try the garage window. You get what I'm trying to say? But I'm going to go back in. And I think that's one of the things that I like when we seek out stories of people. Brian and I did a pod yesterday about this Oregon State Trooper, one of the Western states in the U.S. For the geographically challenged across the pond. And this guy was handed a deck of cards, a handful of shit this time and this time and this time. And you know what? He bounced back. He bounced back from getting shot by a bad guy 12 times after his police car was rammed. Those stories of resilience draw me in because I need to know. I want to suck the marrow out of that bone and figure out what it is that person has that I don't have. And if I'm going to aspire to something, that's the kind of person I want to choose. And so your show, and I found this, and I've said it to other people, your show is inspirational. Sometimes you take the low road, which is cool because I know how busy you are, and you'll get an article and you'll just comment on somebody's article. But what I really like is I like when you get your folks on, your friends on, your mates on, or somebody that you don't know, and you really dig into those because that's the true Adam, and that's the guy that I'm going after. I'm thinking, how did Adam at such a young age overcome the shit you overcame? So same thing with Marren. And this is not an exaggeration. There were hundreds of Marrens that auditioned in the early days for the company that I was working with to take the training that I do around. And Marren did this career trajectory that was like no other. Why? Because he had all the same experiences those guys did, and he wasn't a moper, and he was always early, and he was always the next one going, combat was pretty bad, but hey, what are we doing today? And I loved that because I had a whole bunch of other people that you were dragging them to work, then you were propping them up at work, and then you were dragging them back. Brian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that makes those days really hard when part of your job is to say, hey, you might get killed today, but let's go. Here we are,
Yeah.
And those are tough. When the stakes are the highest, I think that's when we see the best of people and the worst. And the worst.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's both sides of that coin. Those type of events, those life altering events, or those chaotic situations or stressful ones, it brings out the best in people, and it brings out the worst in people. It's easy for people to slide either one of those directions, actually. You know what I'm saying? We're very sociologically focused on we take a lot of our cues from other people in our environment.
Right.
So one of my big things, and I'll ask even Greg from his experience, even with law enforcement as a hostage negotiator, most people, most people one-on-one are somewhat reasonable. You can talk to almost anyone. I mean, even if they have some sort of different mental health issues or substance abuse stuff, one-on-one. When we get in groups, the bigger those groups are, the dumber we get. I mean, we get real stupid. And next thing you know, you're going from, I'm enjoying the soccer match or the football match for you guys, and now I'm busting out every window on the way out, and we're riding like that. And then they're going, oh crap, I that escalated quickly. I didn't know I was going to do that. And so we take our cues from our environment. So it's just something kind of important to remember about your choices is you have to focus on you first and what's best for you, so you can make better choices in those types of situations.
Yeah. And I'll caveat that, Marren. Today in Paris, they're starting the trials. That's going to take at least a year for the 2015 Paris terrorist attacks. And you're talking 130 people killed and 400 wounded. That's on the docket today. Now, we could do nothing but say September 11th is coming up. Take a look at the Paris attacks. Take a look at this and model bad behavior and look at the shitty stories, right? Pardon my language, on the news, because that's all they're going to give us. They're going to give us either that, or they think we're too stupid to accept it, and they're going to give us a chipmunk on a surfboard. You know what I'm saying? That seems to be what we're getting to the news today. So let's talk about that. When people get in groups, they do stupid things and they say stupid things and they hurl insults. Why does that happen? That happens because groupthink, and the lowest common denominator is the easiest to attain. It's hard to take the high road. It's hard to get up every morning and take a shower and brush your teeth and shave your legs or whatever it is that you do. It's my personal routine before you go into work. It's hard to show up early. It's hard to stay focused at work. It's hard to do things when you got a boss that's an ass. But that's what you do to get ahead, right? And so you got these other people that are saying, oh, you're ahead because it's your religion, or you're ahead because it's your skin color, or you're ahead because, you went to the Brentwood Mall as a kid and I didn't get that opportunity. That's all crap. The easiest way out is to take the natural line of drift and point at everybody else and say that they had it better than me. Or you had an advantage that I didn't. And I can point to an incident 141 years ago, or 600 or 3,000 years ago, and this is what the cause of it was. That's a sellout. And if you're doing that and you're listening, you won't ever hear this podcast, I should say, because the people that are listening to your podcast want out. They want up and out. They want the answer. And I think that's what we're all searching for. And I wish we could reach those other folks. Can you imagine in one location alone, during the Paris debacle, you had 90 people that were gunned down with automatic weapons. How can you formulate in your mind at this day and age that that's right? How can you think that it's okay to forcefully exert your will on another human being? That's what we're all going for. That's what we're all trying to change. Easy way is to say, well, it's above me. It's out of my pay grade. I can't do it. Hard way is to do what we're doing right now. Sit down and say, is there a way out of this? And there is. Maybe we don't see it easily. Maybe it's going to take more work, but there's definitely a way out.
Yeah. No, I agree with what both you guys said, and I think like going to like I said, groupthink and psychology, people kind of sometimes like to go with the crowd, don't they? They kind of get caught up in not thinking for themselves, and like you said, people act a certain way in groups. And especially if alcohol is involved, then it kind of gets amplified. And then you see everyday people who act a certain way in a group, and it's like, what happened there? And I think, like you said, with the media as well, there are so many things that are going on in the news, and sometimes the important things aren't being shown, or they're not asking the certain questions that we're asking or looking into. And I think you have to have those uncomfortable conversations, don't you? In order to get somewhere, you have to open it up and have an adult conversation. Otherwise, the same thing's probably going to happen again.
Yeah. And so every song that's ever written has been written about love, finding it, searching for it, losing it. Every book that's ever been written has been written about love. Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, every good thing that's worth doing in the world has to do with love. So I would caution everybody that sooner or later there's going to be a day of reckoning. There is no huge section in the library about hate. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So good ideas stick around. Look at math. Look at astronomy. Look at the sciences. But if you're a good scientist, when you learn that something is wrong and that there's a better way, then you have to adapt to that. And that's what we have to do as a society. We have to stick to our guns. No pun intended, but we are a gun society. We have to stick to our guns, and we have to say, These things are wrong and we got to fix it. These things are worth fixing. Nobody, except for Brian's role model, Greta Thunberg, nobody wants to take the climate change seriously. Why? Because I'm too busy watching my movie, eating my popcorn, and having my beer. It's easy. You see what I'm saying? Climate change is almost nebulous. It's almost so big that we don't understand that little subtle changes over time will fix it. Right, Brian? I mean, you get where I'm thinking.
You're getting, how does my micro behavior affect everything at a macro level? It's very hard for us to understand, but it's something as simple as, an economist can sit here and tell you, Adam, that, you're at a stoplight and, someone is on their phone, they're not paying attention, the light turns green and holds everyone up and people are honking, and then you got to go. Well, what is that? So that's maybe 5 seconds that's lost out of your day, that you should have been moving forward. Well, if you multiply that by every stoplight on the face of the earth, that's billions or trillions of dollars in lost productivity, right? But it's very hard for me sitting at that stoplight to understand that impact on the world. That's the same thing we have with COVID and everything. I can't see it, I can't taste it, I can't touch it, I can't smell it, especially if I have it, right? But all this stuff is going on, so it's hard to understand as a human. So it's hard for us to adapt to this, and what's one thing that I'm going to do isn't really going to make much of a difference. It's like, well, yes, if everyone does one little thing, it leads to a very big thing. But that's an important thing to remember, because we talk about that in a negative way, right? But that's also a positive thing, right? You just do one good thing, and if everyone just does one good, well, then it's it. Then we're good. We start solving problems. And so those micro things are very, it's important to look at big picture and what that is, and it's just hard as a human being to really see and understand and feel like it really is. It's almost counterintuitive to your own world and survival. So
yeah, and so is being nice to a human on a daily basis. You never know where the other person is. There's a hierarchy and emotional hierarchy every day that you have to reach out to. So you've had a bad morning, right? And it's unlike Adam to have a bad morning. And Brian and I encounter him and we say, hey, buddy, what's going on? No, I'm fine. And then immediately you're back. Well, you know what? We meet a person along the way and they're not there. They lost a loved one. They're not going to be able to make the house payment. There are no protections for all that. And instead of saying, hey, keep the chin up, hey, we're there to help, or, at least, we'll be thinking about you, whatever thing that you want to do, we pass on that moment. Passing on that moment is like passing on recycling. I mean, it's all on that same scale. You don't think it's going to help globally, but it is. It's going to help globally and locally. Telling somebody you look nice today. We got out of that because, it's a bad, hey, I like the way you're carrying your hair. Hey, I noticed you shaved. That's a good look for you. Not from Marren, the hirsute bastard.
I made a joke when I said this was going to be, fashion tips from Greg, but you keep going to different.
I have to. but the idea of just being nice to somebody when you see them, or saying hello or thank you, those things mean a lot. Like I had to learn that on the southeast coast of the United States, when you say thank you to somebody, the answer is okay. That hurt me for a long time because when people would say that, I would stop and I would say, you're welcome, and then I would walk off. I would model their behavior to try to get them into that habit. That's an easy thing to do. Say thank you to somebody today. Say hello, when you wouldn't. Use an animated face. You can make somebody's day. You can stop them from doing something stupid just by encountering them and being nice to them. Answer that email. Don't ghost somebody today. Answer that phone call, as long as it's not one of those spam calls, and be the voice of the company. I mean, it's really hard to do that, because when people see that you're down, they're willing to help you get lower instead of trying to turn it around and using some of your calories, which I have ample amount of calories each day, to uplift somebody. And it takes the same amount of time to uplift somebody than it does to put somebody down.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with both of what you said, and I think, like you said, it's these small things, isn't it, that make a big difference and go a long way. And I think that's something I've been learning, in my life, even in work or in my general life, saying thank you, or buy, like the other day I bought my mom some flowers.
Yes,
it's like,
right.
and it's like my mum works hard. She works all day. I got her those flowers, and she feels better, you know. And then she's probably going to have a more productive day the next day or whatever. And it's these small things that have a massive impact. And you know, when you think about life now and how fast things move, you know, stress, you know, it doesn't take much to say thank you or to say I'm grateful for this, or
right.
you know, and sometimes, like you said, it's those things pile up over time, and then something stupid might happen. You know, for example, I mean, I said I won't go too much into it, but I sent you guys an article about the shooting which happened not too far from me, and it made me think. And I was like, I've kind of seen this quite a few times now. I mean, that's a very rare thing in the UK, but it made me think, like, why did that happen, and what could have stopped it from happening? And people start scrambling now it's happened and start putting things in place. And maybe if someone said intervened and may have asked how his day was, or may have tried to help him in some way or whatever, then
that's the answer. That's the answer. Listen, you had such an incident that you reached out to us because you had an active shooter that killed people. And guess what? First of all, there weren't a lot of articles because the UK just doesn't play that. In the United States, there were 400 articles about it, right? But the other thing was, it was amazing to me how quickly the fingers started pointing. And what I mean by that is, hey, listen, how did he get his gun back? How did he do this? How was he done that? Okay, listen, now's not the time to ask those questions. It was 6 months and 6 years ago to ask those questions. And what we do is, it takes a lot of time to say hello to a person and to ask them, how's your day? You know, what are you thinking today? How does your heart feel today? Whatever your thing is, because mine are always emotion-based when I ask a question about that. But why? Because I want to see where that person is on their emotional thermometer, so I know that they might need an intervention. Now, I do that with my team close in. I do that with my family members. I do that with the people that live in Gunnison. There's 6,000 people in Gunnison, and I practically go to door to door every day asking them how they're coping with things. Now, people go, well, it seems, you know, pretty pushy. Hey, you ask a person, or you develop a baseline for a human being, you're going to tell when that stress rises, and you're going to tell when that person is going to act out. Almost everybody wants their say and not their way. That guy on that day wanted to say in his way, and he wasn't going to stop till somebody stopped him. That's wrong. Somebody saw that, somebody felt that, and they just didn't share that information in a timely fashion.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it? I mean, like, I think, especially, I mean, in the work that you guys do as well, have you noticed? I mean, you deal with you know, in lots of scenarios where people, you know, like situational awareness and things like that, and conflict, and people's behavior and stress and their thinking. Do you think that, you know, even in, like, say, you know, like work environments in, like, offices, maybe, you know, you have to kind of do you ever look into those areas? Because, like, you know, you think about emails or work stresses and, like,
what a great question.
Yeah.
You're first of all, you're spot on. Let me just jump in with one thing. Everybody that's listening, stop putting all your faith in situational awareness. And I'll tell you why. Adam, you're in a car. You're always in a car when you're doing an interview. It's one of the things that we love about you. The sound quality is great, but it's just so novel. It's just you, right? But as you're driving somebody's car around, that's called stolen in the States. When you take a look, there's warning lights all over that car. I would venture to guess that when you first turn on your car, there's 10 or 12 or 15 warning lights that come on to tell you when things are at homeostasis, when they're at their baseline perfect condition, and when they're not. Okay, that's situational awareness. That's it. That's all it is. Okay, what you do next, that's the rest of your life. That's critical thinking. So if you get a warning light come on and you put a Band-Aid over it, your life is going to blow and your car is going to break down, right? That's the idea. So it doesn't matter the venue. It doesn't matter whether it's at work. And if you're talking about at work and you sell snow cones, or you're a captain of industry, it doesn't matter. The idea is that what you do with the information that you get from your environment and what you don't do matters more than anything else in your life.
That's a good one. So it's kind of what I was bringing up too. It's the warning signals, the warning lights, right? We always wait to the last minute. We wait to fill up with gas until that, your light comes on and tells you we have gas. No one's reading the actual dial to say, hey, I should go fill up now when I've got the time to do it, and I'm waiting on my friend anyway. So might as well, I have a half a tank, but I'm going to eventually need more. That's kind of the idea we're thinking about, and Greg's talking about is those proactive measures of checking in and having those conversations with people. I mean, that's really, really what it's about. And that's the best, way to prevent something like this, or figure something out, or step in before something becomes a problem. And we just, because we're so focused on our lives and what we're doing, we can miss those things, even sometimes if they're people in our life or they're close to us. So it's just, you have to make that conscious effort in everything that you do.
Yep. What's on your mind? What's on your heart? Those are always good questions. And if somebody doesn't give you the time of day and doesn't ask, you got to ask why, because if you don't, it may end up in tomorrow morning's headlines.
Yeah, because it definitely does build, doesn't it, over time? And I think just having like a conversation about it, kind of lifts that, takes the edge off a little bit. And I think that's something that I think, more places I would like to say kind of go in that way. Some places aren't so much. And I think that's probably why supervision is probably good, or something like that, to probably just touch base every so often. Because, I mean, I used to work, sorry.
I will give you a very quick example of how checking in matters, and how sometimes you need to assume the other person's perspective before you make a choice. And by the way, keep buying flowers for your mom. I know she's proud of you. I know she loves your show. That's so good. A good thing to do for a son. Brian and I were at a hotel across from a major sports arena that was obviously closed because it was late night hours. We had to get up at dark 30 to get into our rental car to go to the airport for yet another flight. And while Brian and I were at the gas station, we were both looking aware of what was around us, even though it was perhaps 3:15, let's say, in the morning. And we noticed a group of 3 people working together that were coming out of the hedges near this store, this gas station and mini mart kind of thing. And what it was is that one person had defecated all over themselves. There were street people that were living in the hedge, and for whatever reason he was sick or something happened, and he was in a bad way. And the 2 others were helping him into the store, and the 2 were crouched down to go behind where the cameras were and to get the door. And the other one was talking to the counter person. Hey, how are you? Hey, listen, how much is the oil today? To create a distraction. Now, Brian and I were not only watching it, but we were filming it. And they got the old dude into the bathroom where they could get him cleaned up without somebody stopping him. And then the guy went back outside, and then he did a very similar display to catch the counter person's attention to get him back out. If I would hire those people tomorrow, because they showed that they could work together to solve a problem. If they can use that amount of critical thinking, they don't need to be living on the street. That's number 1. 2, kudos that they were using it for good to help their mate, rather than using that as a shoplifting scenario, right? As grabbing some booze and running out of the place or whatever, or worst case scenario, robbing the joint, because it would have worked the same way. But here you had humans working together for a thing. And everybody around us was so into just getting their gas and going at that time in the morning that Brian and I were the only ones that started. The only thing we didn't do, Adam, we didn't go over and interview the guys afterwards, which normally we would have done, but we had to go do a flight. Humans can be the best, or they can be the worst. Humans can help you make it through the rest of the day, or make you just want to. Where does suicide come from? Suicide comes from the desperation of saying, I can't take another 5 minutes in this shitty situation. And remember, you didn't cause that all by yourself. The group helped that too. So if a group can help you commit suicide, I say a group can help you not commit suicide or catch those signals early on. That's really what we're talking about, is being a good human for other humans. That's what your show does. Your show exposes fault lines, cracks, stress fractures. And I think that when you talk to your friends, you can fill those in. You can positively have an outcome on that person's day in that life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's so true in what you said, and I think that's a really great, example you mentioned, and I really appreciate, what you said about the podcast. And I think, it's like you said, it's that communication, isn't it? And like you said, people can either almost tear people down or they can build them up, or they have, there's that kind of thing with people, isn't there? You see so many different things happening, especially in groups, you know, both good and bad. And when you talk about gas stations, like it really kind of hit home with me, because I've never felt comfortable going to we call it petrol, but you know, same thing. But I never felt comfortable going to a petrol station, and until I saw some of your clips talking about it, I really connected with it. And I was like, there must be something there, because there are many petrol stations where I live, and a lot of them are kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I'm always, you know, it's quite safe, but I'm always looking around like I'm paranoid. And I'm always, and I mean, we don't really have guns here, like, you know, as much as the US, but there's something that's just very vulnerable and very open about those kind of areas. And I remember going to one late at night once, and I think they were homeless people, like you said, or they were people who were on drugs or something. And they just meandered through the petrol station, and they was up to no good. And I just wanted to get out of there. But you can't leave your car. You have to go pay. I mean, you must look into this quite a lot with what you do.
Yeah, we've had we actually just did a whole episode on our buddy Andy Murphy of the Secure Dad. We just did an episode all on about gas stations, because you know, just like all of those things you just perfectly described. One, it's something you're in a vulnerable spot. You have to get out of your car. Gas or petrol stations are built in an area where with easy access to them. That's the point, right? They want people to come in and stop, so they're always in areas where, like, you know, getting on or off like a main highway or a road or somewhere, you know, that's what they're located. There's someone coming up behind you. I think they're check your six there, Adam. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's obsessive compulsive. He keeps opening and closing his door too.
Yeah. I'm sitting here like I'm going to be able to do something.
He's just going to get schwacked right on camera.
Yeah. I'm about ready to jump to the screen here. No, but you know, you're forced to stop there. Two, you're doing a behavior that you've done a million times in your life. So you're pretty much just going through you're going through a routine. You're not even focused on what you're doing. Anyone can come in and go there. It's cheap food there. You know, there's people stop, so people are going to beg for money if they're homeless or need something. You know, so you're just, like you said, you're in this vulnerable position. So it's just one of those areas where you do need to take a second and heighten that level of awareness, especially if it's a new area. Anything, like anytime I go to a gas station, I try to do a full lap of the you know, wherever the whole area where all the tanks are, to see what I can see. And it just looks like I'm just, you know, finding the right pump and, you know, whatever. But, you know, I do that, and then you stop and you take a look around before you get out, and, you know, then you go about your business, and you just keep moving around the whole time you're there. I always like to look. And the big thing is, you know, it happens here in the US a lot. It's like, you know, gas stations, you know, your 7-Elevens, those type of places, they get robbed all the time. But almost all of them are built to where it's all glass, you know, in the front. So you can see into it, especially at night, if there's lights on in there and it's dark outside. Like I mean, you could see everything that's going on. And I always tell people, like, you just look in there before you even get out of your car. Look in there. You might be walking into a robbery in progress and have no idea until it's too late. So all the signs are there. And then, you know, if it's that uncomfortable, go to a different place, go somewhere where it is more comfortable, go to that nicer neighborhood or that nicer area. Or is it a little bit more expensive for gas? Yeah, maybe. And is it, but I mean, that's worth it to you versus what could potentially go wrong. So, you know, it's a great point. You kind of walk through your normal, you know, feelings and emotions in there, and they're correct, right? You should be a little hesitant and a little nervous, you know, but all that does is just heighten your awareness and be able to see what's going on around you, you know, before it comes up to you.
Yeah. And there's never, ever been somebody that's come out of nowhere. And when you see these lone wolf attacks or whatever else is going on, the amazing thing is, at the end of it, saying they were already on the watch list and police were onto them. Okay. And then they went and did the stabbing attack. What are we doing wrong? When we see behaviors and we say, well, it's none of my business, it's all of our business. If you saw a kid drowning in a pool, you're not going to say, well, maybe he's just play acting. I'll walk on because it's not my business. You would take some kind of action. But see, climate change is slow and very deliberate, and so is terrorism, and so are unhappy people that are going to hang themselves in their garage today. You have to, if you're talking about situation awareness without the critical thinking component is worthless, because then you're just going through hyper alert in your environment. Ooh, blue bird, green car, look at the nice lawn. That doesn't give you anything. You have to create why something came to your attention. And if something comes to your attention, that's your brain and your mind screaming at you, hey, why does this matter now? What's going on here that I should be alerting others to? And it's the same thing at a gas station. If everybody is alert, we're all much safer, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's so true what you said. And I think I kind of feel that in train stations. I mean, do you call it like a metro or something? I always feel the same there. Like I had to go to like near London for a work trip recently, and I had to change twice, and I had to get on and off. And I'm always wary where my bag is and where my wallet is and where I'm standing. And sometimes you get people who I never put my earphones in and listen to music. I like to hear what's going on around me.
Sure.
And I see people and they're on the phone and they've got their earphones in and they're pretty close to the edge, or they might have the bag beside them. And I mean, I'm not a specialist in it, but I'm quite aware. And I always think about what would Greg and Brian think in the situation? What would they say to this? And you see it, and some people are almost blind. They're awake,
and they're called victims. Yeah, it's exactly it, Adam. Listen, we can't wait to spend a weekend with the terror of Nottingham, taking you out and showing you our world, and doing vice versa there. And the idea is exactly that. When you're on a plane, when you're on a boat, when you're on a train or a subway, when you're in some public area, look at the other people and you can see right away, victim, victim, victim. Why? Because they're tuned out. They're so down and in to what it is that they think is important in their life. They're not up and out. Look, how long do you spend at a gas station? Okay, let's say it's 6 minutes from the time that you pull in, you gas up, you pay, and you leave. You don't have something better to invest in for 6 minutes than your own livelihood and your safety. And that's what people get wrong. They'll spend 4 hours on a gosh damn video game when they get home from work, right? They'll spend 4 hours at a bar after working. They'll be on Angry Birds while they're at work because they just can't focus on something. We're saying a couple of minutes well placed during your day, you can be safer, right? You can be smarter, you can be harder to kill, and you can be a friendlier human. We're not talking about shutting out your fellow man. We're gregarious and outgoing everywhere that we go. Why? Because that's a good policy. Because if I'm going, hello, then I know whether you're trying to kill me or not. You get what I'm trying to say? It gives me sort of a standoff distance. And it's good to be a good human. It's much harder for somebody to kill you if they like you. Unless in a domestic relationship, when it's all topsy-turvy. Just so you know. I go back to the conch shell.
Have you got anything? Do you want to say anything, Greg? Or Brian? Or
No. I mean, Greg's hitting it. It's just you're hitting up naturally, and I appreciate that you give us a shout out. As what would Greg and Brian do? And sometimes it's that simple, because you put yourself in a criminal's perspective. They're walking that platform. What's an easy target for them? They're going to go the path of least resistance. That's why
Adam's good at this, Brian, because he was a hood rat. Back in the day, he was trouble.
So that's what you got to look for. But that's what we all were, and we all did stuff that we shouldn't have done, and we learned from it and moved on, right? But same thing. It's like what would they do in this situation? And it's easy for you to pick someone out, and then as long as you're not that person, most people are just most criminals are gonna walk on. They want that. They want the easy grift, man. They don't want to invest too many calories.
That's why when we were talking earlier, Adam, just before you hit the record, we were talking about why is it so easy to be a jerk? Why is it so easy to be a shitbag and a ne'er-do-well? The idea is instant gratification. It takes nothing for me to decide in the moment at bang what I'm going to do for the rest of my life or the rest of my day. There's nothing. Oh, there's a bus. I'll get on the bus. Oh, there's a burning cigarette that somebody discarded. I'm going to smoke that instead of working and buying my own. It's easy. Okay. That doesn't mean that it's what you aspire to. Doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy your life. It's just easier. I say the harder you work, the more you're going to. what is the juice and squeeze analogy? I always get that wrong. But the harder that you work, we're back to Brian in the soup kitchen. The idea is the harder that you work for something, the better it's going to feel when you attain it. And honestly, good hard work and being a nice person and being consistent is where it's at. And those are the people we like to surround ourselves with.
Yeah. Okay. Consistency is key. Even if and if you're a bad person, then consistency is key. Be consistent, because then we know what to expect from you.
Easier for us to catch you.
Exactly.
Right.
So if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. If you're always going to be in a bad mood, then always be in a bad mood. It's easier for me to tell when there's something going on then, right? No, consistency is always key.
Yeah. No, it's so true, isn't it? And I think like with consistency, you get into that groove, don't you? I think last time we spoke, you mentioned about like records, how they have those grooves, and you kind of get, the more you do something, you just get into that pattern of doing it. And like you said, like people who kind of, I think as well, if you work hard and you can see that growth over time, you feel good about yourself. And that's something I say to people, you will grow through doing this. And this is just a moment in time if you want it to be. And like you said, with that kind of squeezing, that juices of life, kind of developing.
I always want you to be the hero in the story. My entire life, I'm kind of bombastic. I'm kind of outgoing. But if you know me at all, you'll understand that I want you to be the best you can be. I want to increase your human performance so your story is better. So you go back to wherever hovel that you live in and you have a better day in a life. And it doesn't matter if I'm going to the local 7-Eleven or the local pub, or I'm on public transportation. I try to make the people around me feel relaxed and comfortable, even for that moment in a day. And again, that's why I seek out podcasts like this. I don't understand social media, so I'm afraid of it and I hate it, and I'm not on any of it, but I'm willing to share my life experiences on a podcast if it makes your cross easier to bear for a minute today. And I think if we all did that, man, imagine the change that we could make in the world if we just thought about somebody else for a minute every day. You know what I'm saying? Think about I'm still the flowers to your mom. I'm an orphan. My mom and dad are dead. My aunt recently died. COVID deaths around you. How sucked is it that you walk around sometime going, man, I wish I should have called that person. I wish I would have, had the last word in for that. I'm telling you, it takes a minute a day. There's 24 hours in a day. Feel free to use all of them.
Yeah, no, it's really powerful, isn't it? It's so true. Like you said, just taking that moment out of your day to, say something to somebody or say hello or ask how they're doing. Because some people, like you said, aren't in that position where they have those things, and really puts them into perspective. And
I bet if you call your mom, and just say, hey, it's me, I'm heading out, I'm doing this or whatever else. Brian still lives at home. He's in his basement right now. He doesn't know what it means to be out in society and have a life yet. But listen, Adam, when you call that, I know that brightens your mom's day. For that moment, for that minute in that day, all her endorphins are firing and she's feeling good. You do that when you say hi to people on the street or when you smile at them, but it's got to be genuine. If not, you freak them out and they want to run and hide. You know what I'm saying? People know when you're being fake and when you're being genuine, and 1 minute a day.
That's it. It's just all it takes.
He just locked his doors, Brian. Did you notice that? He just locked his doors again.
Yeah, I don't know if that maybe that guy's back.
Thing.
Yeah. I'm just checking if the police are coming. That's what I'm speaking.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just thinking as well, like I was just trying to promote what you're doing because I see you're doing a summit. Are you doing a summit soon, guys?
Yeah, we're doing a couple actually. Marren?
Yeah, we've got some courses coming up that we're doing in Virginia here in the U.S., and then we're going to be down in Mexico City for an executive protection summit. We're going to be speaking at that and then putting on a workshop for a bunch of those folks down there as well. So definitely going to be a busy month next month for sure. And we've got a bunch of that stuff that's lining up some more for the rest of the year and kind of moving around and getting into different areas again now that people are kind of I guess understanding the COVID situation a little bit more, and it's get a little bit more under control. I know it's still changing and constantly developing, but things are starting to move again, I think. So that's good. That means we're getting back out there more.
So we got to make some ducats because I know that trip to your homeland is not going to be a cheap one, because not only do we have to deal with you, but we've got all those reprobates that we know that live there. I don't want to name them on this broadcast, but you know who you are. And our bar bill alone for that trip, for the love of God. And then we want to get you over here to play in the States as well.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely organize something. We'll definitely sort something out, and we'll definitely make it happen. And I really look forward to that. And it'll be a blast. And and people can find what you're doing on the website, like your summit. Like, is that the place to go?
Yeah, so we have the EP Summit. I actually do have to put that up on the website. It's good, but anything on social media and stuff, we're on there. If you follow anything on Arcadia Cognerati, then you can stay with us, and we're always trying to post some interesting or photos and description of stuff to get people kind of thinking, little stuff here and there. And it's like a little window, I guess, into some of the stuff that we talk about in class. I mean, you can only get so much from an Instagram post, but it's a little, I always tell people, it's like if you were walking past our class and you poked your head in and for a minute and went, whoa, that's pretty cool. What is that? I mean, that's what you're getting by following us. So you're getting some of it. You're just, obviously it's not the same as, show like getting a training course, but you get to learn something, little nuggets, a little takeaway that it might hit home later when you see that in real life, go, oh man, that's what they were talking about. Holy crap. Like that's that guy's, that's someone living out of their car, or that's someone dealing dope over there. That's someone going to rob someone, like, just from little tricks you can learn. So we try to post a lot of that. So if people follow us on there, and then we get sometimes people to send us some good photos too that we can use, which is always fun.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, you sent us some good photos, by the way. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
when you had a little break, that was great. The changing of the guard.
Yeah.
We live vicariously through others. So when they send us photos or videos, and I would take that opportunity to say, Parrsitivity. Listen, I'm very, very selective about what I listen to, what I read, and what I watch. And yours is an amazing broadcast. I've never seen two that were alike. And what's your standards for getting on? If somebody contacts you, they can be on the show. You know what I'm saying? Which I love too. So reach out. Adam's always looking for new talent. It's an easy thing. Reaching out for Adam Parr and getting on the show and talking about your views. And maybe you disagree with us, and then we can show you how wrong you are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. No, I wish you all the best with the summit and everything that you guys are doing. I'll always promote it where I can, and I think you're doing great on what you do. And I really appreciate your guys' support, and it really means the world to me. And I always thank you for I see you mention my podcast with Dr. Rob Kelly. I really appreciate what you said on there. And
he was great to talk to. He was awesome. He's a wild man. I love it. Yeah,
he's got some story, hasn't he? Like what?
Oh yeah.
But there's so much more. Usually a person is one slide deep, and you scratch that slide and you move it out of the way, and there's nothing behind it. For the love of God, we could have done a series of episodes with him, and he's just kept giving. A wonderful guy, great guy.
Oh, it's awesome. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on the podcast again, and I look forward to next time. And you guys always say training changes behavior, so I think that's so true.
That's so wonderful.
That, man. Thanks so much for having us, man.
Yeah, we love it. And let's circle back after October. We got a full October, and we'd like to see what your Halloween costume is going to be anyway. So maybe we can circle the wagons.
Yeah,
I'm going as Marren. I'm going to try and so I have to lose 260 pounds and
see what happens. You never know.
So it's great, Adam. Thank you, though.
No, you're welcome, guys. You take care.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Adam. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Would I stop?